Now that's the way to get the night started there. Some ribs, some skewers, a little barbecue, Sun Life Stadium. You need some beer? The Milwaukee Brewers will provide that. The Marlins and the Brewers play the fourth game of a four-game series. The Brewers have won the first three, all of them by one run. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hutton. This has been a painful losing streak for the Marlins. It goes back to that last game in Arizona, and that game was a one-run loss, too.
Rich, so painful. I'm thinking about going down and getting some of those ribs right now. But you know what? The thing you have to look at, the Marlins have been in all these games. They're not getting blown out. They've done some little things incorrectly. They've not hit with runners in scoring position, but they've been in every game.
And in these close games, the Marlins have been shorthanded because Hanley Ramirez has not been on the disabled list but was not available, and a four-man bench. And the Marlins certainly had their hands tied. Edwin Rodriguez. Well, today the Marlins have disabled Hanley Ramirez. He goes on the DL, retroactive to May 30th. And the choice is a lefty out of Jacksonville, Brad Hand. He'll pitch tomorrow.
Well, think about it. Even when Hanley was active, hitting just .210 with 4 home runs, had just 6 doubles. But you miss him. There's no question about that. Brad Hand, just 21 years old, out of Chaska, Minnesota. So it's about 25 miles south of Minneapolis. He's got some family coming down. He's looking forward to his outing, and we look forward to seeing the left-hander tomorrow.
We get to see a guy that a lot has been written about because he's a Cy Young Award winner. And in the offseason, man, a big splash, trade to the Brewers, got hurt in a pickup basketball game. But he's back, and Zach Greinke's starting to make an impact.
Yeah, he sure is. And this is a pitcher that the Milwaukee Brewers got to add with Markham and Gallardo and Randy Wolf. And Greinke in that Cy Young year was just tremendous. His catcher for some of those games was John Buck. However, in his career, he's 64 and 68. He is beatable.
Okay, so Greinke's going for the Brewers. The Marlins are hoping that the Javi Vasquez of the last 3 starts is the guy that's going to show up tonight.
Absolutely. Javier Vasquez, 34, a veteran. He's really put it together. His last 3 starts, the strikeouts and walks ratio, unbelievable. 15 strikeouts and 3 walks. He's been able to get the secondary pitches, to change up the curveball, over for strikes anytime.
Okay, and a couple other things to consider. It's draft night in baseball. We will have the Marlins' first selection, and a lot of youngsters in college and high school right now a little nervous. Draft starts here in a couple of minutes. Also, it's going to the bullpen night. Reed Cornelius will join us live from the bullpen. So you got that to look forward to, as well as the barbecue along with the Brewers and the Marlins. And we'll take a closer look at tomorrow night's starter. The 21-year-old going to make his major league debut, a second-round draft pick, Brad Hand.
Here, trying to snap their worst skid of the year at the 4 straight. With Jeff Conant, I'm Craig Minervini. The big news for the Marlins today, they had to decide one of 4 pitchers they were looking at to start tomorrow's game, and the opportunity is a knockin' for Brad Hand, Double-A lefty in his 4th pro season. He's had such a terrific year. One of these things, Jeff, where he pitched so well, the Marlins couldn't avoid picking him up. He's 7-1.
They really needed an arm to fill Josh Johnson's slot. 7-1, lead the Southern League in wins right now. And just 21 years old, getting his big league debut tomorrow, and probably pretty excited about it, I would think.
Yes, he is. From Chaska High School in the hockey state of Minnesota. Brad Hand got the news in Jacksonville. It was a little bit of a surprise.
We had a day game yesterday in Jacksonville, and at the end of the game, the coach called me into the office and was going through, because we've been struggling against the team we're playing right now, so he went through a bunch of the lineup and was going to talk about hitters and stuff, and he was like Chipper Jones, Dan Ugla, and then after that he got a big smile on his face. He's like, "You're pitching Tuesday in the big leagues." And then my mom and sister were in town just visiting in Jacksonville, so they were there. I told them after the game. It was pretty exciting.
So he's going Chipper. At first, do you wait, Chipper, this guy on the team? Who are you playing?
We were playing the Birmingham Barons, the White Sox team, and so I was sitting there kind of confused and had no idea what was going on, and then all the coaches were in there and thought we were having a serious talk, and then it kind of got lighthearted, and it was very exciting.
So great news to get, and it probably took a few seconds. Wait a minute. Chipper, what? Is that the same?
Dan
big leagues.
What? Every one of the guys that's ever made it to the big leagues will always remember that first time they were told.
That moment.
Come on in here. I got something to tell you. You're going up.
And usually the guys will tell you they didn't expect it coming. They thought it was something else. What am I doing wrong? And you hear that, all of a sudden you're facing the Atlanta Braves tomorrow night. Brad Hand, good for him. All right, coming up, though, the Marlins business is very important here. Trying to take one from the Brew Crew. 3 one-run losses have been sticking in their craw. Let's see if they get the big hit, some big outs, and try to take a game tonight. It's coming up next.
Brought to you by Toyota, moving forward, by AT&T, and by FP&L. FP&L is constantly working to make its system stronger, smarter, cleaner, and even more efficient to offer reliable service today for years to come. Visit FP&L.com to learn more. Welcome inside Sun Life Stadium. The Marlins and the Brewers tangle again. They have danced 3 times already, and every time the Brewers have won a 1-run game. Javier Vasquez is on the mound for the Fish. Peers in. Ricky Weeks is digging in. Niger Morgan and Ryan Braun also scheduled to appear here in the first inning. And there's a fastball for a strike. Dale Scott calling balls and strikes.
Not too often does an umpire crew get to stay a wraparound series, have a Sunday night off, and be able to come back out Monday. Good crew. They've done a good job.
The other crew has done a pretty nice job, and that's the Brew crew, because Milwaukee has improved their record every day they've been here. Ron Renicky has enjoyed South Florida. The Brewers have swept a 4-game series here, and it was the first time they played a 4-game series here way long ago. Swing and a miss by Weeks, and the count is 1-2.
Aside from everything else we've talked about with Javier Vazquez, improved control, improvement on the secondary pitches, I think we've also seen Rich's fastball more in that 90-91 area.
More confidence, a little more zip, and better results. His last 3 starts, if you add up the 3 starts, 19 innings, just 4 runs, just 3 walks. And that's a night and day difference from his first 7 starts.
He had 5 walks alone in his first start of the year in just 2 1/3 innings.
Weeks, hero yesterday with a 2-run homer and an RBI single. He drove in 3 in a 6-5 win. And he lines that one in the gap in right center field. Stanton over for it on a hop. Weeks on his way to second, and Stanton's throw is late. And Ricky Weeks and the Brewers are in a good spot here in the first inning. Here's their lineup. Ron Renicky in his first year as their skipper. Warren Henry brings you the batting order. You've seen Weeks. Nyjer Morgan to follow. Ryan Braun, who won Game 1 with a home run. Prince Fielder has homered twice in this series. Casey McGee's at third base. Former Marlin Mark Kotze is over in right field. Yudieski Betancourt is at short. Jonathan Lucroy is the catcher. And Zach Greinke is a very good hitting pitcher. He hits 9th. This is Nyjer Morgan. And he pulls a ground ball to second, executing nicely. Weeks gets to third. Brewers doing the little things.
Let's take a look at the defense, brought to you by Warren Henry. There's Lomo and Coughlin and Mike Stanton. No changes. Infield the same as we've seen. And John Buck doing the job behind the plate. And interesting because John Buck in 09, he missed some time but caught a number of games from Zach Greinke in his Cy Young year.
Well, Morgan got him over. Now Ryan Braun is going to try to get him in. The Marlins infield is back except for Gabby Sanchez at first base. So Weeks with great speed at third. And Vazquez pumps in a fastball. It's fouled back and out of play. It's 0-1. Ryan Braun in this series. 3 hits. The home run was a pinch hit homer, and man, was it a big one and a painful one. The Marlins had a 1-run lead on Friday night, and Leo Nunez grooved a fastball to Braun with a runner at first, and the 1-run lead went to a 1-run deficit in the time that it took for the ball to get up in the blue seats. Braun takes a poke at an outside pitch, and Vazquez is out in front 0-2. He hit 94 on that fastball.
And that's a good sign. That's another part of his game, I think, that has improved over his last 3 starts. You mentioned the confidence. He talked about that in between his last start.
There's Weeks. The 0-2.
A few guys in the lineup have had a little history against Javier Vazquez. Edwin checking on things and hoping to get a little better at bats with runners in scoring position tonight.
That has been a struggle in these 3 games. 1-2 coming. Little chopper, and that's going to score Weeks. Bonifacio will have no play. Braun runs well. Infield single, and Milwaukee's off to a 1-0 start.
Aside from all the things that Ryan Braun possesses, he has speed. And that's one of the reasons that's helped him to be a 300 career hitter. He came into this season 307 lifetime. So he makes contact, doesn't strike out. By making contact, not only does he get the run in, he gets himself an infield base hit.
He may not be at first base very long. You got Prince Fielder up. Braun has stolen 13 bases. He's been caught only 3 times. Fielder was 0 for 4 in yesterday's ball game. Has 2 hits in this series, and they both left the yard.
By the way, the one thing that Vasquez has been able to stay away from his last 3 starts has been first inning runs, and that's what plagued him early in the year.
Braun not running. Fielder nearly tore himself in 2 trying to check his swing, and apparently he did not. Jerry Meals said strike. Hard to know if a fielder disagrees. He always has that grumpy game face on when he's at the plate. He looks mean and nasty. He looks like his swing.
That's a good analogy.
0-2 now. Changeup, and it's low. Fielder with those 13 homers in a logjam with 4 players tied for 3rd in the National League, including Mike Stanton, Ryan Braun, and Albert Pujols, who suddenly is into walk-off home runs.
Well, if not for Albert Pujols, the Brewers would have gained ground the last couple of days.
1-2 misses outside.
Albert Pujols with the back-to-back games hitting walk-off home runs against the Chicago Cubs.
And as a result, Milwaukee sits 2 games back. They're the first inning runs that Tommy mentioned. Brewers 2 back of the Cardinals. The Marlins 3 back of the Phillies, just a half game ahead of Atlanta, who arrives tomorrow night. I don't think he checked on that either. Strike 3.
Early in the year, Javier Vasquez didn't have that sharp bite to that slider. He wasn't able to bury that pitch in on left-handers and get a hitter like a Prince Fielder to commit. So a good pitch there by Javi.
He has so much torque on his swing. Well, from straight on, it's hard to tell. You almost need the side look or the look down the line that Jerry Meals had. Casey McGee. Vasquez gets a strike.
It has not been a good South Florida visit for McGee. He's been struggling. He's 0 for 7 in the series, but he's 0 for 15 on their road trip. Started in Cincinnati and then brought them here.
The Marlins have lost 4 consecutive 1-run games. The Brewers lost a 1-run game, their last game in Cincinnati, before getting here. Ball and a strike. It's a team that many feel with Greinke, Markham, Gallardo, and the lumber they've got with Fielder, Braun, along with McGee, Corey Hart, that it's a team that should contend for the division title and for a wild card spot. Brewers just haven't had the healthy and effective rotation in the past couple of years, despite putting up enormous offensive numbers. Braun's at first. 2 teammates from the University of Miami, Gabby Sanchez and Ryan Braun. Garth Forge, the first base coach over there for the Brewers. Check swing is a swing.
See, a good indication as to the kind of stuff a pitcher has is if you see a lot of check swings. And we've seen that early on. Saw Fielder with 2 of them. One of them he struck out. And McGee there. That tells you that Vasquez has sharp stuff. Okay, you forget about the run that he gives up in this inning, and he'll just move on. That's all he wants to give up, though. Be alive for Braun with 2 strikes.
Got him. Elevated a fastball at 91. It's been a frustrating trip for McGee. The damage limited to just 1 run. We are underway in Miami.
español vía Zap y es presentado por KFC.
Wow, we had a lot of costumes going on there. That's just a big piece of cheese. That's what that is. Marlins lineup. The Warren Henry advantage brings you Chris Coghlan, Omar Infante, Logan Morrison. Gabby Sanchez appears as the first baseman. Greg Dobbs is at third. Mike Stanton in a right hitting sixth. John Buck will do the catching. Emilio Bonifacio hits eighth. And Javi Vasquez hits ninth against Zach Greinke.
I talked to John Buck, who caught Zach Greinke many years. And one of the first things he said, a lot of times you're not sure which Greinke will show up. Depending on the kind of stuff he has, sometimes he'll flop a real slow curveball up there. But he has outstanding stuff. Good slider, spots his fastball well.
Misses up and in to Chris Coghlan. Coghlan 4 hits in this series. Average sitting at 240 right now. Greinke catches a corner there.
That's a pitch. Outer part of the plate, Chris Coghlan has taken 100 times this year for a strike. Front side opens a little bit, and all of a sudden he gets in a hole. So many times Chris is up there in the hole with 2 strikes.
And he has to hit a pitcher's pitch like that.
And pitchers are continuing to do that to him and getting ahead.
Defensively, here come the Brewers.
All right, there's a look at the defense brought to you by Warren Henry, Braun, Nigel Morgan, and Kotze. Mark Kotze getting the start in right field. McGee, Betancourt, Weeks in fielder, and Jonathan Lucroy is behind the plate. So Corey Hart gets the night off for the Brewers, and the veteran former Marlin Mark Kotze is in right field.
Omar Infante goes after the first pitch and fouls it off. Infante 3 hits in yesterday's ball game, where the Marlins not only have they lost 3 one-run games in this series, but it seems like in the most heartbreaking of ways. You had the Braun pinch hit home run. The Marlins in one of the games load the bases against John Axford. And then yesterday, as Infante takes a strike, yesterday the Marlins get a couple of runners aboard in the 11th and were unable to score with Logan Morrison and Gabby Sanchez coming up to the plate. And Infante rips it down the line into the corner. That's going to be extra bases. You can see his swing really starting to click in.
Yeah, Greinke tried to come in again with that fastball. And this fastball, you see, has been around 93. And the quickness, the good hands of Omar Infante. Watch how he adjusts. Hips open, quick hands, double down the left field line, and it's our checkers double of the game.
It's one of the quickest checkers doubles of the game. I mean, right out of the box in the bottom of the first. Here's Logan Morrison, and something we really haven't said in a Logan Morrison at bat. He's slumping right now.
You realize, I look back, Rich, at the end of the San Francisco series. And remember, the Marlins swept that series in the Bay. Logan Morrison was hitting .330. And right now he comes into this game at .290.
0 for his last 14, 0 for 12 in the series. He's got Infante in scoring position right now.
Part of being an everyday player, part of being a young player and making adjustments when you have those periods.
Pulling yourself out of that tailspin.
Marlins, by the way, since that series sweep in San Francisco, have gone 2-7.
Greinke's 1-1. Breaking ball outside corner.
That's that big curveball that John Buck was telling me about.
That's the type of stuff that helped him win the Cy Young. He was 16-8 with a 2.16 ERA in 2009 for a Kansas City team that wasn't all that great. All-star that year. In the dirt last year, he was 10-14, and his ERA rose a little over 2 runs to 4.17 in 33 starts. The Royals actually signed him to a long-term deal a couple years ago, and so in the trade he is signed through next year. He's making $13.5 million this year. So the Brewers have him for at least 2 years. Kind of a max effort grunter out there.
Yeah, you can hear him grunting all the way up here. Have to see if he only grunts on the fastball, though. That was a fastball with a grunt. Next time he throws that slow curveball, we'll see if he grunts on that.
So Morrison has worked himself into a 3-2 count. Infante is out at second with a 1-out double. Fastball, ground ball down the line. And that is going to bring home Infante. A thing of beauty for Logan Morrison, Tommy, because with runners in scoring position, he had been going out of the zone, going away from that sweet swing that he has.
Perfect example of not trying to do too much with a tough pitch. Greinke, watch this pitch. Might be off the plate. It is. But it's away, and Lomo just stays on top of it, flips it by the third baseman, McGee. And you're right. Lomo came into that at bat hitting 167 with runners in scoring position. That is great to see. And also good to see the Marlins answering back with a run.
Gabby Sanchez takes a breaking ball outside. Now Gabby in this series has 6 hits. Yesterday had an RBI double and a single. Gabby has kind of been the rock in the middle of the lineup.
You and I were talking about it before the game. Greg Dobbs and Gabby Sanchez really the only two that have hit consistently with runners in scoring position.
7th in on-base percentage, 10th in slugging percentage. Foul ball. Gabby with his RBI total up to 38 is 9th in the National League in runs driven in.
How about the RBI leader in the American League? Has 50 already. Adrian Gonzalez.
The Red Sox are getting their money's worth. Gabby pulls that one foul. The home run leader in the American League, of course, is Jose Bautista with his 20. The home run leader in the National League, Jay Bruce.
Tell you what, Mark Teixeira, though, the Yankees hit a couple last night. He's got 18. He's getting a little close to Bautista.
Bruce has 17. Matt Kemp has 16 for the Dodgers. 1-2 coming. Breaking ball. Gabby dumps it into right, and Kotze is out there. Such a sound defensive player is Mark Kotze.
Guy like Kotze, you could make a video of him in right field, center field, and left field, and send it to every youngster that has a desire to play the outfield, and that's all you'd have to watch.
Cody Ross like.
Yeah.
So here is Dobbs, and the beat goes on for Greg. He's hitting at 341. Dobbs does not have enough plate appearances to qualify for the league leaders in batting average and such. Who would have thought that at this point in the season, in early June, Greg Dobbs would have 138 at bats?
He had 163 last year, the entire year. A lot of the success, wow,
it was close.
A lot of the success that Greg Dobbs has had is his preparation.
Lomo just got back.
Well, he does grunt on the curveball. We just heard it. I don't know if I included that on the scouting report for Greinke. late life on the fastball. He does have that. He does have that big breaking ball, and we've talked about his Cy Young. Didn't have enough room to put quick move to first, or he grunts on fastball and curveball.
Or he's just a great athlete, fields his position well, and is a very good hitter.
They might have the best hitting staff amongst their pitchers of any team in the league.
I'm with you on that.
I mean, Gallardo, 9 career home runs. Narveson swings the bat well.
Randy Wolf.
And Greinke hit a home run the other day.
And Greinke is a Florida guy, Apopka, Florida. A first-round pick by the Kansas City Royals, 6th overall in 2002.
Apopka, Florida, up by Orlando.
Brewers have a nice Orlando flavor with Ricky Weeks out there at second base.
Ricky Weeks has a little rooting section down here for him, too. Yeah, if you've ever gone to Disney World, like there are about 15 different ways to get there, you usually go through or pass Apopka or see a sign that says Apopka.
There should be a sign that says home of Zach Greinke on it. Morrison runs, and it's fouled at the plate. Count full at 3-2. Greinke is also a very good rebounder. The Brewers found that out, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah.
When he reported to spring training with some bad ribs. Apparently in a pickup basketball game. Injured himself, and that means that he's made only 6 starts this year.
I think it was a good move, Rich, and I think we discussed this last night, for the ball club to bring Brad Hand up so he can sit, get acclimated, watch this game. Even though he's not going to be pitching against the Brewers, I think it's a good move to get him here tonight.
Absolutely. Dobbs roller up the middle. Weeks far to his right. Got around it. Quick throw. Just got Dobbs. Marlins get a run. Logan Morrison drives it in. 1-1. Delivering with an RBI single. And the Brewers will trot out Mark Kotze, Unieski Betancourt, and Jonathan Lucroy against Javier Vasquez in the second inning. Marlins and Braves tomorrow. It's a 3-game series against the Braves. And then Arizona is in for another wraparound series, a Friday through Monday series.
You mentioned, Rich, about Javier Vasquez and Zach Greinke trying to revisit their 2009 seasons. Greinke, the Cy Young.
Kotsay on that breaking ball. Drops it into right field for a base hit.
Vasquez in 09, 15-10 with the Atlanta Braves. By the way, the one hitter with a large track record, pretty successfully too, against Javier Vasquez is Mark Kotsay. He's 10 for 39 now against Vasquez with a home run.
What is he, 7 for 8 against Nolasco now?
Yes.
Something like that. It's good to see him still in the game, and he's in a good spot. He's on a team that's going to be contending, and they will really, I think, lean on Kotsay throughout the season.
He's both Kotsay and Counsell are great guys to have on a contending team.
Yuniesky Betancourt, who gets the start at short. Of course, yesterday the shortstop was Josh Wilson, a Marlin draft pick. And Josh Wilson hit the home run in the 11th that finally dented the Marlins bullpen. Ron Renicke's team did their damage against Anibal Sanchez, and then the bullpen came out and was lights out until the 11th. In fact, you think about it, both shortstops have delivered game-winning hits. Betancourt had the game-winning hit on Saturday night, the RBI double in the 7th, and Josh Wilson with the game-winning hit yesterday in the 11th. There's Kotsay.
Betancourt came over with Greinke in that trade with Kansas City.
Kotsay trots down to second.
John Buck talking with Javier Vasquez. The effort on the backhand on the pitch that got away, it's a wild pitch. And I don't know if Kotsay gets to second base if John moves over, blocks it a little differently. He tries to backhand it, and by trying to backhand it, that ball skipped away, and Vasquez charged with the wild pitch.
One, two coming. The Marlins are about, it looks like about 30 to 40 minutes away from making their first round draft pick. As the draft is underway tonight, Garrett Cole, as expected, right-handed pitcher from UCLA, has gone to the Pirates.
Couple of
another one gets away.
A couple of Bruins going early in the draft. Yeah, that one hurts right there. Another pitch getting by. All of a sudden, Kotsay's at third base with nobody out. And is it a pitch that needs to be kept in front? Yes. Glove didn't get all the way down. The ball skips away.
It goes as a wild pitch, but as you mentioned, that's one that John Buck will tell you he's got to smother, especially with a runner at second base. Now it changes the whole at bat. Betancourt's up there with a full count. Infield's in. Kotsay's at third. And Vasquez strikes him out.
I think if you had another hitter up there and there wasn't a full count because we're just in the second inning, you might not see the infield come in. Because the count was full, Vasquez goes with a good slider and is able to get Betancourt to chase it. And now you're at a part of the order you're still going to keep the infield in. Lucroy got off to a good start. Lately, he's not been hitting as well.
So it's Lucroy. Vasquez catches a corner with a strike. There's that, the fastball may not be 93, 94 anymore, but he has enough movement to bring it onto the outside part against a right-handed hitter.
And it all goes back to commanding your fastball, spotting your fastball. You hear that terminology.
Same spot.
They're two perfect pitches. There's number one. That one's going to be right on it.
That's perfect. Now, here's the problem. His put-away pitch is the breaking ball, and twice it's gotten by John Buck, moving Kotze from first to second, second to third.
There's that breaking ball. Very sharp tonight. He has sharp slider tonight. Yeah, I think my Bruin insider checked in and mentioned that 2 Bruins pitchers went in the first 3 picks.
Trevor Bauer went third overall, the right-handed pitcher to the Diamondbacks. See if he can put him away. 1-2. That's fouled out of play. The infield is in. The fun part about the draft, and we will effort to show you the Marlins selection when they make it, is the 2 guys at the draft table are Jack McKeon and Bill Beck. Boomer is there.
Representing the Marlins.
Breaking ball hit in the air, but pulled. Foul.
All right, after that slow breaking ball, right now you look for 1 or 2 pitches, that slider again away, or maybe the fastball that he threw for the strikes early in the count.
Because if he can get a little ground ball, you've got the infield in. Remember, you've got a good hitting pitcher on deck, Zach Greinke. It gets away from Buck, but Kotze holds at third. That was close. So down goes Lucroy, but remember, Greinke can swing it.
Right now, his pitches, especially that slider, are moving so well. John Buck's having trouble with it. But a heads-up play there. Get the out, keep Kotze at third. Now the infield with 2 out can go back.
You see Greinke's career numbers against the Marlins as a Royal, 2 for 3.
The other thing, Rich, that Javi Vasquez has done really well tonight, 9 for 9 in first pitch strikes.
Ball and a strike now to Greinke. Vasquez last time out in Arizona left after 6 innings, gave up 4 runs, didn't walk anybody, it struck out 5. Breaking ball, fly ball, left field. Morrison is there, makes the catch, and how about that? Javi Vasquez pitches out of a runner at third, nobody out situation. box office starting 2 hours prior to any Marlins home game and receive a $10 discount on up to 8 infield box seats. Offer cannot be combined and is subject to availability. Miccosukee Resort and Gaming. Get in the game. Zach Greinke and Javier Vasquez matched up in a 1-1 game. You saw John Buck. He'll hit second this inning with Mike Stanton leading it off. Then Buck and then Emilio Bonifacio. Stanton is homered in this series. Greinke's fastball is away. Mike yesterday was 1 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. Off the end of the bat, and that one almost found its way down the first baseline.
Kind of interesting. I think a lot of it is because of Greinke. We don't see the huge shift on it with Mike Stanton up there.
Yeah, the Brewers are a team that has employed the right-handed hitter's shift this year.
Slow hook right there. But Weeks in some at-bats the last couple of games has been almost directly behind the bag at second.
A little sharper break there. And Greinke carves up Mike Stanton. First strikeout for the 27-year-old. All year cooling brings us our weather. 84 degrees. Humidity manageable, partly cloudy.
We have had just some spectacular weather. We need to get the word out.
John Buck takes outside, and it's 1-0. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the Braves are here. Diamondbacks Friday through Monday next weekend. Two and 0. So Buck facing a guy that he used to catch.
He caught him in maybe some years that weren't that great. Caught him in that Cy Young year.
That one almost knocked the cheese off that guy's head.
Yeah, had some padding up there though. He was all right. The year that Greinke had the Cy Young year, in 2009, John Buck caught just 59 games that year. He spent some time on the disabled list with a herniated disc with some back spasms. But the years prior to that, he caught Greinke many times.
And so Buck climbs back in. Swing and a miss. You know, I suspect that underneath that cheesehead, there's one of those little strips that says not to be used as a protective head device.
On the back side of the Velcro.
Yes.
Let me ask you, do you think you buy the hat with the cheese on it, or is that like a separate hat and the guy bought the piece of cheese and got some tape and put it on top?
I think so, because I think it's separate because he needs to use it during Packers season as well as Brewers season. So he's got a Packers hat that goes underneath that. I don't know if they let him into a Bucks game with that on his head. I'm not sure. Buck rolls it into center field.
Speaking of Buck,
a base hit. That's his first at bat against Greinke, which is a little bit of a surprise because those two in the American League last year with Buck in Toronto.
Yeah, 33 starts for Greinke last year. You know, some of those had to be against Toronto. But right back up the middle, hit a pretty good pitch. Hit a breaking ball that was down.
Now Bonifacio. Bonifacio has started to cool down a bit. He is 1 for 11 in the series and has driven in a run. Hits that into right center, and Katse is there. Makes the catch. It'll bring up Javier Vasquez.
John Buck, and we've talked about it. Rich swinging the bat a little bit better, 5 for his last 12.
Better at bats, and just in talking to John Maley, more patient. He's identifying strikes a little earlier.
We've seen him draw more walks.
We've seen him draw more walks than he did all of last year. Buck, in fact, has walked 3 times in the series. Vasquez can swing the bat a little bit. He was on that breaking ball, and McGee's going to go the short way and get the out at second. Marlins leave a runner. We've played 2. Zach Greinke, Javi Vasquez, 1-1. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Florida Marlins, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Marlins. See, everybody's right now, I guess, comparing photos. They were all taking pictures of each other during the break. Got to figure out which ones to keep, which ones to delete,
which ones to text or email.
Vasquez back on the hill. And he gets the top of the order. Ricky Weeks, Nyjer Morgan, Ryan Braun. Weeks doubled to open the game.
It's interesting if you look back at Vasquez's last start. It started in Arizona. Through the first 5 innings, he threw shutout ball. And he gave up 4 runs in the game, but 3 of those runs came in the 6th inning. Remember, Ryan Roberts hit a 2-run homer. And if you remember, in that inning, he made probably all of his mistakes. Leading up to that inning, he'd thrown real well. And in that 6th inning, he left a lot of balls out over the plate.
We've talked throughout the series about Weeks as a leadoff hitter and the power that he brings. 11 homers, 26 driven in. He now has 14 doubles as well. The pitch dives outside. Lake Brantley High School up in the Orlando area. As Tommy pointed out, his brother in the A's organization is this close to getting to the big leagues. Ricky is now 28. He got to the big leagues back in 2003, briefly for just 7 games.
Be an interesting question that kind of slipped by us. That happens all the time. If Greinke and Weeks ever hooked up in any Central Florida matchups up in that area in high school.
Yeah, because Greinke is, what, 27?
He's 27.
Well, last year was a big year in that Weeks was healthy for the entire season. He played 160 games. The most he had played before then was 129 games back in 08. With the wrist injury that he had and the surgery, just 37 games in 09.
It's an interesting game with both pitchers. They both appear to have pretty good stuff, but both of them are getting their pitch count up. Some long at bats, so it's going to be another bullpen game as we get down toward the end. There's no question.
Vasquez lost him, and he tried to overpower him with a fastball and missed up. You got a dangerous base stealer aboard, and a pretty good bunter with speed, Nyjer Morgan, at the plate. In case you haven't heard, the Marlins have brought up Brad Hand, the 21-year-old lefty out of Chaska, Minnesota, just south of Minneapolis. He was a second-round pick back in 2008, and he will start tomorrow. He was in Double-A and was 7-1 with a 3.53 ERA. And the Marlins will get their first start of the year from a left-hander. The Marlins are 4 picks away from their first-round pick. Morgan pops it up. Infante says he has it. And when he says he has it, he always does. He has been sure-handed for the Fish this year at second base.
Just to kind of bring my point home for Javi Vasquez, 7 of the first 10 at-bats have seen 4 or more pitches. And for Greinke, 7 of the 9 hitters he's faced have seen 4 or more pitches.
So here's Braun. Heck, as long as we're talking draft, Braun was the 5th overall pick back in 2005.
Chris Volstad picked in the first round of that 05 draft.
16th overall.
Yeah.
Pitch is a strike. Crack staff led by Ken Lee quickly pulling this up. Look at that. Fielding percentage leaders. Infante now even with Brandon Phillips.
Still having committed just 1 error this year. I guess it's safe to say both pitchers have been very deliberate tonight.
They would argue they're just being diligent, holding runners on, making sure they're working at their own pace. Well, both guys know what they're doing. You know, that's for sure. I mean, Greinke obviously hasn't been in the league as long as Vasquez, but he's won a Cy Young. And he's always seem to have a good ERA on some not so good Royals teams. Vasquez, of course, has been on winners. Up the middle and into center field. Braun. Everything Ryan Braun hits seems to be stung.
Yeah.
He's got 2 base hits. Of course, he had a little dribbler in the first.
Yeah,
he didn't location.
He didn't hit the dribbler hard, but he hit that one hard. Good attempt by Chris Coughlin to throw behind Weeks, who took a pretty good turn at second base.
Well, remember the at-bat that Fielder had in the first. It was a sequence of check swings on the sharp biting breaking ball by Vasquez that struck Fielder out. Fastball drilled right field and gone. Prince Fielder's 3rd homer of this series. 14th of the season. And the Brewers back on top. It's 4-1.
3 RBIs with that blast. Now has 48 on the year. So every time he hits one and drives in a run, that price tag just goes up in his free agent year. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Casey McGee now. Where do you think a guy like Prince Fielder will end up? Is it the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, the Chicago Cubs? Some say the San Francisco Giants.
There are 3 choices right there, even though the Giants have
Brandon Belt.
Brandon Belt, the young first baseman.
That's a huge commitment and a lot of money.
I think if I were Prince Fielder and those clubs were interested, you'd have to really think about the Cubs with the kind of swing he has hitting at Wrigley Field. Certainly familiar with the division.
They would name a rooftop after him. It's 2-2. That would be, I mean, so much is made of what Cardinal fans' reaction would be if Pujols went to Chicago. I think the same could be said about Brewers fans if Fielder ended up in Chicago. Been a real tough series for Casey McGee.
However, I think Brewer fans about now have kind of accepted the idea that Prince Fielder probably is not going to be back with them. They got some pretty good contracts on their roster, and I don't know if they're up to adding another really big one.
Here's Kotze, and he slices it foul. Don't think that the Mets are in a position to sign him. Don't think that the Dodgers are in a position to sign him.
Now, do you think a guy like Fielder and his agent, would they wait to see where Pujols goes or vice versa?
To center, Coughlin on the move and makes a catch. It's a good question. Something for us to ponder in a 4-1 game. right now at Sonic. You can get your hands on 4 new premium beef hot dogs, just $1.99. By Subway, eat fresh. And by FP&L. FP&L is constantly working to make its system stronger, smarter, cleaner, and even more efficient to offer reliable service today for years to come. Visit FP&L.com to learn more. Chris Coghlan takes a breaking ball for a strike. And suddenly Zach Greinke has himself a 3-run lead off the Prince Fielder home run. Coghlan scorches one. That's a fair ball and down the line, and Chris turns first. He's going to get his 17th double of the season. And the Marlins try to answer the Brewers here in the third.
We've seen a couple of Marlin hitters really turn on fastballs in. Infante doubled in the first inning. This double snaps a little 0 for 8 that Cogs was working on. Might have been up a little, but he got to it and turned on it and kept it fair. A lot of times a hitter, when you're not swinging well, you turn on that ball, roll over, and you hit it well, but you hit it foul. So it's a good swing, and that's good to see with Cogs hitting that ball fair.
Infante doubled down the other line back in the first. Takes a breaking ball outside. Omar's average up to 257. Be interesting to see where he ends up. Here's a guy that was 3rd in the National League in hitting last year. He, over the last 2-3 weeks, you can see the line drive starting to come off the bat. The average at 257. Good bunt. Greinke off the mound. Out at first base. Good play by Greinke.
I think you can see the athletic ability of Zach Greinke on that play. A lot of pitchers can't make this play. He actually looked like a shortstop or a second baseman coming off the mound.
Yes, he did.
To feel that ball and then get rid of it. He almost hung his first baseman out to dry. The throw was in the line, but Prince Fielder does a good job over there. Stayed with it. Watch that. Just like a shortstop. Quick throw, and Fielder stayed with it, made a nice play.
Well, Logan Morrison is up with a chance to drive in a run. Now the middle infield's back. McGee even at the bag at third. Talking to Tony Perez around the batting cage. He's had discussions with Morrison. He said, as a young hitter, you have to learn how to do it. And he talked about just what he told us last week. You look for a pitch to drive, not necessarily a pitch to hit in the air. And so I'll ask you what the difference between a pitch to drive as opposed to a pitch you can hit in the air.
A lot of times the thought process to a young hitter's guy at third, less than 2 out, if I get a pitch up, I can hit it in the air, hit a fly ball. Most of the time you're going to pop that up or not hit it deep enough. The thought that Tony has and that
there it is.
He's got it. He's okay.
Yep, he's locked in now. Morrison around first, chugging for second, and he's there with a double. Same spot he had his RBI hit back in the first. You can really see his approach has changed. It's been a frustrating series for him. He's come up with runners in scoring position and gone after high pitches. Tonight, he's gone after that outside pitch and just stroked it to left.
Mainly because he's a quality young hitter, and he's going to hit. He's going to have periods where he slumps a little bit. He's going to make adjustments, and he's made adjustments, and it's certainly obvious tonight.
Now, here's Gabby Sanchez. He flied out his first AB, and he swings and misses at a breaking ball. So Morrison has 2 RBIs and 2 hits tonight. And the Marlins are down 4-2. Greinke's 0-1. And it misses outside. Logan Morrison and Chris Coghlan both with doubles here in the third. There's 1 out. Zach Greinke making start number 7. 1-1.
I was just thinking about it. The interesting thing about Logan Morrison, Greinke for 3 games has watched the Marlin hitters and has seen Lomo out front pulling a lot of pitches like that. So he's tried to go away with that good 2-seam fastball, and Logan has stayed with it and driven him well to left field.
One, two. Greinke was traded to Milwaukee along with 4 players, or 4 players. He came along with Betancourt. 4 players in cash came from Kansas City to Milwaukee. He almost walked away from the game back in 2006. And he strikes out Sanchez. Lucroy steps inside the diamond and throws him out. Greinke had a social anxiety issue that really had not been diagnosed until he told the Royals that he needed some time off. He wasn't sure if he wanted to continue to play baseball, and they got him in to see the proper doctors, prescribed some medication for him, and thankfully got him back on track in his life, and that allowed him to step back into baseball and continue to have success.
Yeah, because back in 05 he had 33 starts. And then in 06 with the time off, he came back, he pitched in AAA, and then just had 3 starts with Kansas City.
Even from a young age, Greinke said that he always had trouble in social situations. Playing in Little League, high school, never quite felt like he fit in or felt comfortable.
That's why every time there was speculation that the Yankees had interest and Zach Greinke could be a Yankee, a lot of people said not in that environment in New York with the media scrutiny. But it's good to see a young man come back, having battled issues like that, and get back to the big leagues.
Check swing. Dobbs did not go. I think it's great to see a young man admit to having a problem like that and ask for help, get it, because for every Zach Greinke that's pitching in the big leagues, there's thousands of others, kids, athletes that aren't in professional baseball or in professional sports that probably have the same issues. And if one of them reads about Zach Greinke and says, hey, you know what, that sounds like me, and can go get help, that's terrific. 1-2.
That's what was so great about Jim Eisenreich. Not only as a Marlin, but with the other teams he played for, he was always very outspoken. He missed some time, went and played independent ball for a while, dealing with Tourette's, and was always free to give of himself to talk to youngsters who had Tourette's and to show them what they could do too.
Dobbs, a ground ball out to short. Betancourt swallows it up and throws him out. Marlins get 1 back on a pair of doubles. Coughlin started it. Morrison drove him in.
As we go to the top of the 4th inning, all week long we're talking about the relationship that Gabby Sanchez has had with Ryan Braun, college roommates way back at the University of Miami. And their junior year, they roomed together. So I talked to 2 guys today about being roommates. I said, which one is the sloppy one of the 2? Was it an odd couple? No. You had 2 guys, that ball is ripped to center field. And Betancourt's going to wind up with extra bases here. Brewers with a good start to the inning on the triple by Betancourt. Which one was the sloppiest? They actually both said, first of all, Ryan probably the neatest of the 2. He's a neatnik, but he said, you know what? Ryan's Gabby's very tidy as well. So that probably was a draw. And I also asked him what kind of quality you'd want from the other guy. And when I asked Ryan Braun about Gabby, he said, you know, one thing I'd like from Gabby, his work ethic. He refuses just not to give up and keep going at it. And that's proof of his terrific career so far. Off the field, he said being a loyal, great friend is what he appreciates about Gabby Sanchez. And Ryan got a chance to go to Gabby's wedding and was in the wedding party last year. He said, by the way, the messy guy was pitcher Cesar Carrillo, who pitched for the Padres for a bit when they were roommates.
There's a pop-up. Stanton doesn't see it in right field, and it's going to fall foul, thank goodness. Wow, what a lonely feeling that had to be for Mike Stanton.
You know, and I'll tell you why. First of all, between about 8 o'clock, 8:20, which is what we are now, you get those that get lost in the twilight. As an outfielder, you need help from the infielders, and we've seen the infielders go out. But you know by the swing that the ball's probably in your direction, and that's what makes it frustrating. Because you know, okay, it's in my direction, but I can't see it.
Javier Vasquez trying to do what he did back in the 2nd inning, and that's pitch out of a runner at third, nobody out situation. He did that by striking out Betancourt and the guy at the plate, Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy bloops that one down the first baseline. It's foul. And now it's 0-2, so Vasquez has got him where he wants him at 0-2 after a leadoff triple by Yuniesky Betancourt. With one eye, we're watching the Major League Baseball draft. They just showed Jack McKeon and Bill Beck at the Marlins desk at draft headquarters. Here's the 0-2. On the ground, and it gets by Bonifacio. The Brewers have a 5-2 lead.
It's been a tough series for Emilio Bonifacio at short. He had a couple of line drives, one to his right, one to his left, that were catchable, went off the glove. He had a ground ball up the middle hit by Narveson yesterday. And it seems like each time he's made a play that he had not made a play where he should have, the Brewers have capitalized.
Greinke gonna bunt, drops it down. Gabby picks it up and flips it over to first base. Here comes Ricky Weeks. The Marlins have made their first round selection, and it is Jose Fernandez, a right-handed pitcher. Trying to get as much information as we can on him. I believe he's the guy that defected from Cuba, or at least tried to. We'll get you a full scouting report when we can. The Marlins have taken right-handed pitcher Jose Fernandez.
Well, over the years, the Marlins have had some success with high school pitchers. Just got to go back to Josh Beckett, Josh Johnson, Chris Volstad.
0-2 with a runner at second base.
By the way, the ball that Lucroy hit was ruled a base hit. And certainly could have gone the other way.
Fernandez is from he's from Miami in terms of high school. Braulio Alonzo High School. Weeks swings and misses at a breaking ball. Here's the announcement of the first round pick.
The Florida Marlins select Jose Fernandez, a right-handed pitcher from Braulio Alonzo High School, Tampa, Florida.
Jose Fernandez, a 6'4", 220-pound flamethrower committed to the University of South Florida. This is a young man who's been through so much, all trying to flee Cuba on a boat. Arrested by the Cuban police, told he could never play baseball or go to school ever again for trying to escape. He was sentenced to 1 year in a Cuban prison. This young man you're looking at, he never gave up, successfully defected for a better life along with his mother and sister, being drafted 14th overall by the Florida Marlins. He's a Tampa kid. Peter, this is an amazing story.
Wow, see, we were trying to dig up information on him. That's great stuff, courtesy of MLB Network, and it is in Tampa. It's not in Miami.
Tremendous information.
Yeah,
on the kid from Cuba. And you know, a kid with a background like that is certainly going to be determined to make things better for him and his family to get to the big leagues.
Runner coming home. Coughlin's throw to the plate is cut. Gabby, there's no one at first base. Buck is racing there. He takes the ball and out at first base. He knocked him right off the bag.
Yeah, he's out mainly because John Buck wouldn't allow him to get to first base.
Nigel Morgan trying to slide back, and Buck knocked him right off the base.
Watch this. He's going to beat him there, but Buck goes, okay, you're not even going to get here, catches the ball, and then gets the tag on him.
That's a catcher blocking first base. The fourth here in Miami. Our Tickets of America interactive poll. Baseball's amateur draft starts today. Who is the best all-time Marlins draft pick? That's a good question. Josh Beckett, CJ, JJ, Logan Morrison.
That's a hard one to answer.
Gabby Sanchez or Mike Stanton?
Because you have Morrison, Sanchez, and Stanton who are just getting underway in their careers. And you have a little better idea of the type of career Josh Beckett has had.
789-789.
But our viewers will be able to come up with their best effort. as always.
Mike Stanton, of course, is only 21. Stanton, of course, an interesting draft story. In the same draft as Jason Hayward, the Marlins were pretty sure that they would be able to get Stanton in the second round, and passed on Hayward and took Matt Dominguez, the third baseman, because they loved his glove and they thought he would project out to be a starting third baseman in the big leagues. And Hayward was taken by the Braves, and the Marlins sat on pins and needles until that second round, and Stanton was still available, and they took him.
Yeah, it's one of those things that worked out pretty well. It would have backfired had somebody else taken Stanton. Yeah,
and you know, it depends on who you ask. If, say, Jason Hayward wasn't in the draft, would the Marlins have taken Mike Stanton in the first round,
or would someone else have taken Mike Stanton?
That's true. At the knees, Greinke.
I tell you what, Zach Greinke has picked apart the strike zone to Mike Stanton. He has really made some good pitches. Only 3 strikeouts for Greinke, but 2 have been against Mike.
Here's John Buck. Of course, there's always the game that you can play with the Albert Pujols, and you can discuss, well, who was drafted before Pujols? I think the guy drafted right before him was Alfredo Amezaga, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think we had that conversation a few years ago. Yeah,
there's a slew of guys, and obviously every team that passed up an opportunity to draft Pujols out of the same junior college as Logan Morrison, Maple Woods Community College in Missouri.
Things have worked out pretty well for the Cardinals in that draft.
Ball and a strike to Buck. He singled back in the second. Both Marlin runs knocked in by Morrison. But the Brewers keep swinging the bats. Another home run. 7 homers in this series for the Brewers. Fielder, a 3-run shot. And the Brewers just keep racking up impressive offensive numbers.
Speaking of the draft, Rich, by the way, the team that really is benefiting from this year's draft. I heard an interview from Kevin Towers with the Diamondbacks. I believe they have 3 picks in the top 10 in the first round.
Buck to right. Kotze is there, and he makes the catch. And you get those for losing free agents. Or I believe if you don't sign your first round pick one year, the next year as a special parting gift, you get another first round pick.
So they've been able to load up on what most feels a pretty good draft this year as far as talent.
Bonifacio takes outside. I think there's more focus on the draft in the last couple of years because the game is getting younger, and obviously that has to do with performance-enhancing drugs and the testing that Major League Baseball has done.
And players are getting here quicker. Brad Hand, a good example of that, starting tomorrow night
at 21. Morgan runs in and makes that catch. Greinke goes 1, 2, 3 through the fourth. top in the 5th. Adi Martinez is in the ballgame at short, and the Marlins are going to double switch and bring Brian Sanchez into the ballgame. So Sanchez takes over on a short start by Javier Vasquez, who gives up the 6 runs on the 8 hits. You see Sanchez's numbers. He's been outstanding in his Marlin career, and a guy that just supervised him getting loose is with us now down in the bullpen coach Reed Cornelius. Hi, Reed.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good, Reed. Hey, I was just looking because the last time Sanchez was in a game was his start in Los Angeles. So how's he worked in between? Because that's been a while.
Yeah, he's gotten off the mound a couple times. He threw once in Arizona the last day we were there, and then he got off the mound yesterday a little bit. So he's just trying to stay sharp, staying off the mound until he got back out there.
Have you had a chance to talk with or meet Brad Hand since he's come up? I know you saw him in spring training.
Yeah, we saw him in spring. Just hello today, how you doing? Gave him the routine of what we do every day, and he's down in the dugout with the rest of the starters. So that it was very quick, but we just told him what was expected and what time he needed to be here, and basically the routine of the day.
How in the world do you keep him calm in his bullpen session before starting his in his major league debut?
Yeah, it'll be tough, but he's been throwing the ball really well, it looks like, and hopefully once he gets up there on the mound, it'll just be second nature. Just a little different hitters, a little different atmosphere, but once he gets out there and gets between the lines, hopefully his natural ability and what he's normally done. I think he was 7-1 down in Double-A. Just let him go out there and work, and hopefully it'll come out just like it's been in Jacksonville.
You try to keep it simple for him instead of giving too much on a scouting report, just have him go with his strengths?
Yeah, just let him know guys that are dangerous, let him know their tendencies, but also whenever he's in doubt, let him go with his strengths, and hopefully his strengths are going to win.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot has to do with just trusting whoever's behind home plate.
Yeah, John will be great back there. Hazy will do a great job, too, if he's back there. But John's done a great job all year with our pitchers, and, I think that Brad will rely a lot on him and lean on him heavily tomorrow.
Reed, who first comforted you when you came up with Montreal back in '95?
my first appearance, I believe, was Darren Fletcher back there. And it was, like I said, once you get out there, it's a little surreal. But you don't really hear anything, or at least I didn't, and you just sort of focus on the task at hand.
And then you had your first starts as a Met.
Right, as a Met, and that was Todd Hundley was there and Alberto Castillo. And I believe Alberto had me out there the first start.
For the Marlins bullpen this year, certainly a different personnel group. Marlins brought in a lot of new arms. What's the dynamic like this year compared to last year's pen?
It's a little bit more power, it seems like, down here. We've got a left-handed specialist with Randy. Choate comes in and get those tough lefties. And, it's a good mix of guys down here. We got a good variety, and the guys have thrown real well this year.
How unbelievable has Randy Choate been to get himself ready for lefties? And I think lefties are 2 for 25 against him.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and he knows his role. He looks over there at the scorecard, and he'll see who's coming up and when it might be expected. And he's been doing this for a while, and he's really good at it, and he's done a phenomenal job for us.
Prince Fielder at the plate. The count's 3-1. And Sanchez misses inside.
It was a great day, Reed, for that entire bullpen, that game we were talking about that Brian Sanchez started in Los Angeles, because it was basically a bullpen game.
Yeah, it was a bullpen day, and these guys, yeah, here's Mr. Choate anyway, right here with me.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Usually our guest gets showered with sunflower seeds, so you've gotten off easy so far.
So far. Hopefully they'll leave me alone out here.
Mujica hasn't gotten you yet, has he?
No, but he's lingering, and he's lurking around the ice chest down there, so it makes you a little nervous. Yeah, the bullpen did a great job that day, though. They went out there in 8 innings and just, threw the ball real well, just like they have all year.
6-2, Brewers on top of the Marlins. Reed Cornelius from the bullpen. Everybody getting refreshments out there. Who on this, every bullpen has a rookie that has to carry like the snack bag down. Who is the snack bag carrier on this pen? Because you got some veteran arms down there.
Yeah, veterans, and Steve Cishek is doing it right now since he's the youngest guy. Just came up. And
did Webby have to do it opening day?
Yeah, Webby was carrying around a little bit, I believe, also. And
he's happy to see Cishek then.
Yeah, I think it was nice for him to pass it off. And actually, you know what? Dunner did it for a while. I think Webby may have had a little bit more time. And Dunner had that. I remember now walking past his locker and seeing it in there because I'd sneaked a couple of treats out of there as I went past the kitchen.
It's you know, the bullpen guys have their routine. Is this, and you've been in a lot of bullpens. Here's the 2-1. What's the wildest bullpen that you've been in your career, either as a coach or a player?
You know what? This is pretty close. There's like I said, a good mix of guys, good sense of humors out here. I would say this would be it. In Montreal, it was pretty funny down there. Also, a lot of older guys, but I kept my mouth shut since I was a young guy out there, and just listened. But these guys have been a treat.
Swing and a miss, and down goes Casey McGee. Brings up Mark Kotsay.
Yeah, I think people don't realize it's a whole different atmosphere in the bullpen. I mean, you know, ball club's losing here 6-2, but you know, it's still got an opportunity. You got to stay relaxed down there, but it's a little different than on the bench because on the bench you're closer to the manager.
Yeah, no question. You got to keep it under wraps down there. These guys are a little bit looser. You know, it keeps them sane throughout the course of the year, I think. But once it's time for them to go do their job, it's all business, and you don't see a lot of smiling once they get up there on that hill.
All right, Reed, thanks for the visit. Tell everybody down there good luck when they come in tonight.
I sure will. I appreciate it. Good talking to you.
All right, thanks, Reed.
See you, Choder. Love you, too. Kisses. Six to 2. Here's an odd play you don't see much. Watch John Buck racing Niger Morgan to first.
It's an interesting play because Buck does block the bag. Morgan did get there first, but actually came off the bag and then came off more when John tagged him. It's one of those that could have been called another way, but you know what I liked about the whole play? Chris Coughlin hit the cutoff man. If he doesn't hit the cutoff man, Gabby Sanchez, that play never happens and Morgan's at second base.
Ozzie Martinez up, and he rolls one out to Betancourt. He fires to first. And Martinez, his first at bat of the ball game.
Yeah, with the double switch, Edwin trying to utilize what few players he has on his bench and get the most and maximize the bullpen. So get the most out of Brian Sanchez.
Well, Zach Greinke's got himself a 6-2 lead. Here is Coughlin. Coughlin has doubled and scored in the third. Bounced out in the first. It's a slicing liner to left. Braun makes the catch. Let's do some trivia, shall we, in the bottom of the 5th. We flip the phone. Who are the 3 active pitchers to homer in both the American League and the National League? Well, Greinke,
as we have a close-up shot of Zach Greinke.
Greinke's got to be 1.
Rex just homered the other day.
Right. He had homered in Kansas City. Active pitchers who have homered in both leagues. Let's see, Micah Owings has been in the National League exclusively, right? Cincinnati, Arizona.
Yeah, and you have to narrow it down to interleague games.
Oh, I think it's on an American League team and a National League team.
Oh, okay.
I think interleague is out the window.
That was reading too much into that.
Yeah. Just don't outthink yourself there.
I was outthinking myself. And he blew the fastball right by me.
Yeah, just see it, get a good pitch to hit and have a good swing. Here's the 0-2. That one is tapped down the third base line.
What about Brad Penny?
The heart, but you're right about the American League and interleague. Those are obviously the only games you're going to homer in the American League. Infante bangs one off the bottom of the wall. He's looking for 2, and Braun threw a laser beam. Infante is out. Yikes. Ryan Braun throws out Omar Infante. All right, we've been throwing out names. How about Livan Hernandez?
AJ Burnett.
Javi Vasquez, maybe.
Yeah, possibly.
We know Greinke's in there. Beckett. CC Sabathia and Greinke.
All right.
Well, for the Marlins, this has been a frustrating night. Brian Sanchez into his 2nd inning in relief. He throws a strike. For Javi Vasquez, a short start. One of his shorter starts of the season. Vasquez going 4 innings, 8 hits, 6 runs, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. Odd too, Tommy, because it looked like he had good stuff. He had a good sharp breaking ball going.
The way he threw the ball in the 1st inning, even though he gave up that run on Weeks' double, moved over to 3rd, and then scored on the infield hit of Braun. He did. He threw the ball, I thought, very well. But location, he didn't. I don't think he felt comfortable because his pace wasn't the way it usually is.
Ball's hit pretty well. Morrison should have room, and he does.
He had good velocity. He had good sharp spin and bite on his breaking ball. But when you see that, and then you see the hits and the runs he gave up. The location wasn't there.
Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy 1 for 2. One of our crack staffers with the initials WW apparently has seen the Marlins first round draft pick throw and says good fastball. Jose Fernandez. But that story is something, and you heard, I believe it was Greg Amsinger, when we showed you the highlight, talking about trying to get out of Cuba, spent a year in a Cuban jail. One and two. Of course, the Marlins had some pretty good success with a guy out of Cuba, Livan Hernandez.
Yeah, they did. He's had quite a career. His half-brother El Duque, not too bad either.
No. El Duque, we've seen at the ballpark many times this year.
Has some youth teams that he coaches here in the area. Caught a couple foul balls one night.
That's right. He wasn't even trying. They found him. They were comebackers. One and two. One-run losses in each of the first 3 games of this 4-game series. Right now the Marlins down by 4, and Lucroy swings and misses. On the other hand, for the Brewers, a team that had played poorly on the road before this series, they're on house money right now. They've already won the series.
They came into this series 9-19 on the road. And I think it's also interesting the Brewers and the Marlins have each played 23 one-run games. Now the Marlins won a lot of them early. Marlins are 14-9 and the Brewers are 13-10.
John Buck over for a look. And it's 0-1 to Zach Greinke. The draft is such that you see the names go by and the picks that are made, and you always have to file those names away because in most cases those guys don't surface in the big leagues for at least 2, 3, sometimes 4 years. Gabby flip to Sanchez, and Brian Sanchez doing what he's done ever since he's become a Marlin, and that is get out.
Bottom of the 6th, I was talking before the game with Marlins manager Edwin Rodriguez about all the troubles, all the stranded guys, runners in scoring position. And it's not just at the plate where you can force the issue. Here's Omar Infante in the bottom of the 5th. There are 2 outs. You do want to get the second, but you don't want to be out by this much here. If you can't make it, you just can't go when you're down by 4. And I think that after the game, maybe everyone will look at that one and also say that's forcing the issue perhaps a little too much. The play in front of him, Braun did make a great throw to get Infante, but as you can see, he was out by a good probably 8 feet or so, and you want your number 3, 4, 5 guys to drive him in. But I think, guys, when you're losing a little bit, it's just normal tendency to try and do a little extra, and sometimes that doesn't work the right way. It actually works in the reverse, and that looked like it happened there to Infante.
Yeah, sometimes it backfires, and especially on that play because you have it in front of you. When you round first base, you're looking right at Braun making the throw.
Here's Morrison. Wow. That broken bat nearly hit Gabby Sanchez, and Gabby, you can see the look on his face in the on-deck circle. I don't think he even saw it. Watch this.
Oh, we all saw what happened last year to Logan Morrison.
And Gabby is standing a little further away now. Look at where he is now. He's all the way over in front of the Marlins dugout.
By the way, I thought it was interesting, Greinke working inside with that first pitch after Morrison has hit 2 balls down the left field line, one for a double, one for a single. Gabby's moving around over there.
As well he should. That's scary stuff. RBI single in the first, RBI double in the third for Morrison. Ball in the dirt, and it's 1-2. The Phillies are out in front of the Dodgers 2-0. That's in the 6th inning. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Lomo's gone from 0-2 to 3-2. Cubs and Reds playing tonight. 4-2 Cincinnati in the top of the 6th. Everything else is out west in the National League, with the Rockies in San Diego to take on the Padres. The Nationals are in San Francisco to face the Giants. Giants have picked it up a little bit as of late. Morrison smacks one into center field, and Logan Morrison on a 3-for-3 bender.
He too has picked it up a little bit as of late. 3 terrific swings and at bats tonight from Logan Morrison.
Of course, Logan was one of the last draft and follow guys when he was taken in the draft.
Watch his head stay right on that ball. Solid swing.
And draft and follow, it used to be that you could draft a player and you would have almost a year to sign him.
That's changed a little bit, hasn't it?
It has. Now the date, I believe, is, I want to say late August.
It's in August.
Mid-August.
I think it's sometime in August. Maybe our crack staffer with the initials WW could help us on that one.
Gabby shoots one foul. But with the draft and follow guys, a lot of times what scouts would do is they would find a guy that either said he was definitely going to go to a 4-year school and don't draft me because I won't sign. They would, maybe with a 20th round pick or something like that, take that player and then try to entice him. Fly ball to left. Braun went back, now comes in. I mean, Logan Morrison was taken in the 22nd round of the 2005 draft. He certainly, at first glance, people would look and say, wow, for a 22nd round pick, he turned into a good player. But he was considered a better player than that. He was in junior college, and the Marlins were intrigued enough to draft him and then follow him and then sign him later the next year.
And then sometimes in that case, a 22nd rounder can get higher money. maybe 5th, 6th round money, maybe higher than that.
Here's Dobbs. What kind of money did you get? If you don't mind my asking.
It was before the draft, so I actually had the opportunity. I had, at that time in Southern California, 3 clubs interested. I had the Boston Red Sox, the Dodgers, and the Angels. And I signed with the Dodgers for $15,000.
Which is the equivalent now of...
Which back then wasn't bad, 1964.
Yeah, that's about, what, 100,000 these days?
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I'll bet. And it was your hometown team.
And it was my hometown team.
And it was Lasorda that came into your house?
Tommy Lasorda was the scout, along with Ben Wade. The 2 scouts were at the house. And I wanted to make sure I called the other teams to let them know I had decided on the Dodgers. Of course, Lasorda convinced me that it would be much nicer for my family to go to Dodger Stadium than all the way across the country to Boston.
Now, who came from Boston and who came from the other clubs?
Joe Stevenson was the scout, longtime Boston Red Sox scout. And the older scout with the Angels was an older gentleman by the name of Walt Storm. He was kind of an area, longtime scout.
So that was almost like college recruiting, but it was legal to throw cash and women around and stuff like that.
Think about it at the time. That wasn't thrown around then, but think about it at the time. If you had the really talented players, like the ones who are picked in the first round now, they had options from all the clubs. They had offers coming at them from everybody. There's a great story when Tommy Lasorda signed Willie Crawford, a top pick out of Compton, California. They were so intent on signing Willie Crawford that Tommy Lasorda went and spoke at Willie's grandfather's wake and gave the eulogy. And they said tears were flowing. Everybody loved Lasorda. Willie signed with the Dodgers.
That's a great story. 2-2 to Greg Dobbs. Morrison out at second. Dobbs fouls it off. It was a Rick Monday, the first draft pick.
65 the next year, yeah. By Oakland.
Morrison hustling on that wild pitch up to second. Dobbs battling. Lucroy's getting beat up on this AB. It counts 2-2 with 1 out in the bottom of the 6th. Steve Cishek warming up. Marlins are down 4. Remember, they were down 5 yesterday before they came storming back, including a Brett Hayes grand slam. That's for the Marlins, 4 losses by 1 run, each game by 1 run. They've led or tied the game late in all 4. Dobbs went. No. Greinke's breaking ball gets Greg Dobbs, and here comes Stanton, and this has not been a comfortable night for Stanton at the plate.
Yeah, Mike's had some tough ABs. He's been pitched really well by a veteran guy, Zach Greinke. And you mentioned the grand slams. The Marlins have hit 4 grand slams. So when you look up at the scoreboard and you see you're down 4 runs, you have to realize 4 times the Marlins have had grand slams.
Greinke throwing that breaking ball an awful lot. And he's at 92 pitches now. Morrison still at second. Right down the middle. You know, Stanton might be one of those guys in 10 years where people will look back and say, look at all the guys that were taken before Mike Stanton late in the first round, early in the second round. In fact, I'm looking at Stanton was the 12th pick of the second round.
Any other second rounders of note?
Yeah, the only one that jumps out at me before him is Jordan Zimmerman, the fine young pitcher of the Nationals.
It's a good pick for them. Yeah.
Freddie Freeman went 2 players later to the Braves. And Freeman and Stanton, of course, knew each other from Southern California.
Yeah, Freeman's starting to pick things up a little bit. We'll see him the next 3 nights when the Braves come to town.
Stanton went after that high fastball, and the count's 2-2.
About time for Greinke, who's used more fastballs in this sequence to Stanton than his previous 2 at bats. So you for it if you're Mike, but it's about time for Greinke to drop off that big curveball.
There is that big curveball.
Too far out of the strike zone.
In 2007, the year that Stanton was drafted in the 2nd round, the first overall pick was by the Rays. It was David Price. The Royals then took Mike Moustakas. He's same high school as Matt Dominguez. Cubs had the 3rd pick, Josh Vitters, 3rd baseman, still in the minors. The pitch is outside. So here comes Buck now. And Stan has to feel pretty good about that walk because the other 2 ABs, he looked overmatched.
Yeah, that was a better at bat.
And that's one thing about Mike we've seen this year. He will have an at bat where it's, you said it the other day, that's a 21-year-old at bat.
Yeah, sometimes he'll have that awful looking at bat, but then he makes the adjustment.
Yes. Breaking ball, ground ball. Betancourt to second the short way. Marlins are done in the 6th. To the 7th, it's 6-2 Milwaukee.
Vía Zap y es presentado por KFC. Última entrada, debajo por 4 carreras.
Hi, guys.
Hi there.
What's
Tony.
up, fellas?
Richie,
How are you?
All right, guys, I'm trying to figure something out, Cookie. When you see games and people will ask you, they ask us, what can you do to get the energy level up on a club? Because sometimes it looks like a club is very flat.
Well, there's no question about it. All we need is just a little more hitting, and we haven't done that. And missing Mr. Hanley Ramirez is a big part of this ball club. No question about it, and especially with men on base. He's been hitting very well in that situation, even though his average is under the 210 or 220. But when men on bases, Hanley Ramirez is a different type of hitter.
See, Cookie and Tommy are old school. Raul and I would just go 5-hour energy.
For sure. Or rally cap, something. You got to do something to spark up some enthusiasm down there.
Yeah, you guys are going to go Red Bull on us.
Or un cortadito would not be a bad idea.
Bad idea at all.
That'll work.
That's great, guys.
Oh, man. All right, guys, have a good show.
You too, guys.
Thanks, fellas. You too.
All right. Ricky Weeks, Nigel Morgan, And Ryan Braun against Brian Sanchez.
Or I guess I could have said Toro Rojo.
Toro Rojo. You think about these innings for Sanchez. These are important innings. It's a 6-2 game. Marlins are down to the Brewers. But tomorrow night, the Marlins have a 21-year-old left-hander making his major league debut. And you want to have as many fresh arms in the bullpen as possible to back up Brad Hand, who kind of looks like a left-hander, doesn't he?
Yeah, hat's it's a little off-center. He looks relaxed. The other thing about the importance of what Brian Sanchez is doing, and this is how it gets lost in a guy who fills his role so well, is that he's in games often where the other team has a pretty big lead. So you don't think it's important, but it does a lot for the bullpen and for the pitching staff.
Sanchez taking over for Javi Vasquez. This is his third inning in relief. Gets the hard-hitting Ricky Weeks to begin with. Weeks doubled back in the first. This was a game in which the Brewers jumped to a 1-0 lead. A first inning run, something that Javi Vasquez had given up a lot early this year. But the Marlins answered. Marlins got the run back. And it looked like a 1-1 game. It looked like both starters, Greinke and Vasquez, would settle in. And then the 3-run third, which started with a walk to Weeks and ended with another blast by Prince Fielder.
And I was just thinking, as the Marlins are getting ready for the Braves coming into town, they're already in town. Braves had the late Sunday night game in New York last night. R.A. Dickey flipped up a lot of knuckleballs, eight solid innings, so the Mets beat the Braves. So they've been in town for a while.
You know, and it speaks to their work ethic, but as I went down to the yogurt machine between innings, I thought I saw Joe Simpson and Chip Carey, who have come out to watch some baseball and maybe scout and prepare for tomorrow night's telecast.
Which those two guys, it would not surprise me at all. I think Simpson had 2 scoops, out of the yogurt machine. Scouts here.
Count 3-2. By the way, reading a little bit more on Jose Fernandez, and indeed a native of Cuba, spent 1 year in a Cuban prison after being captured attempting to escape the country. After he got out, he successfully defected and ended up in Tampa, Florida at Braulio Alonso High School. His fastball has hit 98. He usually works in the 93 to 95 range, and is committed to play his college baseball at South Florida. Morgan thought about bunting, pulled back and slashed it foul.
And because Richie's out of a Florida high school, he's the second Florida high school prospect taken by the Marlins in the draft. Chris Folstad, we talked about earlier, in 2005 in the first round.
Always fun after the first day of the draft to go back and see which states provided the most. Weeks is running, line drive caught by Infante. That'll be a double play. Marlins get a break. Morgan hit it right on the button.
I like the little casual fake Omar Infante gave to Niger Morgan. Fakes, runner going, watch the behind the back fake. Then just makes the throw to get the double play. That's about as excited as you're going to see Omar Infante right there.
He is so steady, and I know it's a trite statement. He makes the difficult plays look very easy.
And has made all the routine plays. And we'll see some of his buddies the next 3 nights with the Braves.
Mm-hmm. Breaking ball. Braun lost his lid.
Well, they had a little knockdown war in Arizona last night.
No kidding, with the Nationals.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sanchez isn't trying to brush him back or hurt him.
That's just a pitch that got away, breaking ball.
Anytime you see a breaking ball that comes inside, that's nobody on the field gets upset. Fans in the stands sometimes do.
Yeah, I think I heard in that series in Arizona, Upton was hit 3 times. Jason Worth was hit 3 times in the series. And finally, Marquis got ejected.
Both managers were ejected yesterday. That cannot be fun for an umpiring crew.
No. Well, it's always a touchy subject. Once a warning's been issued, then you have to determine if the opposing pitcher throws at somebody.
And that happened in that game.
If somebody got nicked with a pitch, yeah.
In reading the accounts of that game, after a warning was issued, there was a guy that was hit, but the umpire felt it wasn't intentional. But then the next guy that got hit, they said it was intentional, and that manager was upset because they said, well, what about the other guy that got hit? JM Lexus always brings us the leaders of the game. RBI duos. We had this early, and these guys have just added to their total. 91 now for Prince Fielder and Ryan Braun. JM Lexus, price made us #1. Click jmlexus.com to find out how.
The other pair of duos still holding on to second and third.
Runner goes. Bucks throw. Not in time. Ryan Braun with a stolen base. His 14th of the season. He's only been caught twice. He does everything, Tommy.
And he does everything smoothly. You know, his approach at the plate, he appears to run with ease.
You know, we don't spend much time in the greater Milwaukee area, just usually 3 days of the year. But I've got to think that he's got commercial endorsements, does some ad work. Into left field. Braun around third. Morrison's throw is late. Braun scores. And I'll tell you what, Prince Fielder appreciates Ryan Braun because by stealing second, he just helped Fielder pick up an RBI.
4th RBI in the ball game. We can see that solid swing. He gets it by Ozzie Martinez. Lomo with a strong throw, and he kept it down. But the speed of Braun, he was able to get in there.
Here's Casey McGee. So Fielder has driven in 4 of the 7 runs.
Yeah, Braun has been a 20-20 guy, but he very easily could reach that 30-30 club.
Ball and a strike. Sanchez misses away. This feels strange because this series has been tightly contested. It's a 5-run game here.
And the Brewers on the verge of sweeping this 4-game series.
Sanchez giving up his first run here in the 7th. Yeah, just reading the notes, the last time the Brewers, Rick Kranitz talking with Ron Renicky, the last time the Brewers swept a 4-game series was back in 1998. And that was the first ever series between the two teams. And if you say to yourself, well, wait a minute, I thought the Marlins came around in '93. That's because the Brewers were in the American League.
They were over in that other league.
The Brewers in 1998 looked like they opened the season April 3rd with a 4-game sweep of the Marlins. Three strikeouts for McGee, 0 for 9 in this series. With 5 strikeouts. You can see he's really fighting it at the plate right now. McGee is a California guy, Santa Cruz, California.
Out of Fresno State.
Originally drafted by the Cubs. Full count, 3-2. Brian Sanchez, this is almost like another start for him. He's thrown 51 pitches. In the air, and Stanton settles under it. 7th inning stretch here in Miami, and it's all Brewers tonight. Thursday, just as we look forward to the upcoming schedule, you can live forward with Just for Men hair color. Edwin Rodriguez now. Scott Cousins at the plate takes a fastball at the letters for a strike from Greinke. Marlins have coaxed 3 innings out of Brian Sanchez. That one flipped out of play. By the way, there was a report today that Brian Sabian and Scott Cousins have spoken. Don't know the details of the conversation. Don't know that either of them will make that public, but that was reported today in the San Francisco Chronicle. Counts 0-2. I think the best thing, it's a terrible situation all around. The injury to Posey and what the scrutiny that Cousins has come under, and the comments made by the Giants general manager. One thing that has come out of it is that Scott Cousins has handled himself with an incredible amount of restraint and class. There was another article that's on the outside corner, and it quoted Cousins' college coach at the University of San Francisco, who spoke eloquently about Cousins, about the type of person that he was, about the type of player that he was in college. And a very powerful article. Here's Ozzie Martinez. One of the tough things for a guy like Cousins or even Ozzie Martinez right now is with the ball club scuffling, Edwin really doesn't have an opportunity to stick him in the lineup and get him some at-bats.
Yeah, you'd like to see Scott Cousins get a start, you know, maybe in left, maybe in center, not in left. Lomo's hot now. You might want to give Cogs a night off, but it's a tough call for a manager who has a short bench.
That's a role that, for a guy like Cousins, who has fought his way through the minor leagues, Scott's a third-round pick, arrived in the big leagues, used to playing every day, and all of a sudden you're getting 2 or 3 at-bats a week. You can take all the batting practice you want. There is no way to simulate Zach Greinke.
Well, 22 of Cousins' at-bats have been as a pinch hitter. And it's frustrating. I actually was talking with him a little bit today. Up until this at-bat here, he struck out, didn't see a whole lot to hit. But the previous 2 pinch hit at-bats, he hit the ball well, but it came up empty. And it's just tough when you have to wait a couple of days in between.
Coghlan takes down low. 12,404 the attendance. Greinke at 110 pitches. You get a sense this is his last inning. Chopper over the middle. Weeks. Quick release. Gets Coghlan. Good night's work by Zach Greinke. 7 strong innings. Don't wear a mask. Miami, Broward, or Palm Beach before July 10th and register to win a trip for 2 to see the Marlins play in San Diego on the 19th through the 21st. Trip includes airfare, hotel, and tickets to all 3 games. Don't wait. Stop by your local Metro PCS store today. That is a terrific road trip. If you've not been to San Diego or that new ballpark, you want to go. Metro PCS, wireless for all. Steve Cishek comes in.
Well, a job well done by Brian Sanchez to give the ball club 3 innings. And I'm sure Edwin right now would like to see a couple of innings out of Steve Cishek, who has been tremendous in his 4 2/3, giving up just 3 hits and no runs.
There's Mark Kotze. There's a strike. By the way, we always will, whenever we see a good article, we know that many of you watch the game with your computer around. If you've got your computer out, go to yahoosports.com and Tim Brown's hardball column, and that's where you'll find the article on Scott Cousins and his college coach from the University of San Francisco, Nino Giartano.
Right in the heart of San Francisco.
Yeah, the hilltop, they call it. But it's a great read. It's by Tim Brown, and it's on Yahoo Sports, the baseball section for Yahoo Sports. Tell him Rich and Tommy sent you. Mark Kotze fouls it off. Steve Cishek in the ball game right now. The Marlins today putting Hanley Ramirez on the disabled list, retroactive to May 30th. So the Marlins are hopeful that in a week Hanley will be ready and able to come off the disabled list. And you see Donnie Murphy on the bench. He's been spending some time with the ball club.
Very frustrating for Donnie Murphy. The way things started looked very promising.
Oh, that hit Cishek, and let's hope Steve's okay. I'm not sure where it hit him. But it hit him solidly. Hopefully it was in the side or the thigh.
Yeah, you could hear it all the way up here. He's going to take some warm-up tosses. He appears to be fine. You know, we've been talking about draft picks here on the night of the draft. Steve Cishek picked in the 5th round in 2007 out of Carson Newman College.
He is convincing everybody that he's okay. It was hard to tell from that last replay exactly where it hit him. Here's a slower look. And it must have been the hip, because if that had been
upper buttocks, would that be safe to say in that area?
Yes, you can say that.
All right,
we're on cable. But thankfully, it didn't hit his arm, elbow, or wrist, because that would have been real trouble. Yuniesky Betancourt. A triple in the 4th.
Betancourt has 4 hits in this series. He had the day off yesterday with Josh Wilson, and that paid off for Ron Renicky.
Well, that's why you want to get a guy like Josh Wilson a start. It paid off in Cincinnati when he hit a pinch hit home run. There's a look at Josh. Duquesne in Pittsburgh.
Talked to Josh a little bit before the game. You know, seeing Ron Renicky, and we mentioned it a little bit last night, it really is amazing the lineage of managers out of Mike Scioscia. There's all those Angels coaches. Renicky being one, Joe Madden, Bud Black.
I'm just amazed that the Dodgers ever let Mike Scioscia go and that they did not hire him as their manager. Into right center field. Coughlin on the run, and Chris makes a nice running grab. Oh, what the heck. Let's do the Tickets of America poll question. Gabby Sanchez at 33%. The locals getting out and voting.
Good stuff. All right.
789-789.
Not much love for Lomo's tweeting friends out there.
All right, here's your first round picks in Marlins history. Some have worked out, some not so much, and some the jury obviously
still out. Looking at Christian Yelich the other day, looking at his numbers, he's in low A. He's hitting about 260, 270, holding his own.
Dobbs, that was close. Kotze's out.
The one who continues to struggle hitting below 200 is Kyle Skipworth, young catcher.
The baseball draft is much more difficult than the football draft, the basketball draft, probably even the hockey draft, simply because, as you see Craig Counsell, the divide between amateur baseball and the big leagues is so wide, as opposed to the NBA or the NFL. Because you could take a first-round draft pick.
You have high school guys now coming out of the NBA that are going right to the NBA out of high school.
Into center field, here comes Coughlin. Yeah, I mean, the guy that some have said is the best high school player they've ever seen, Bryce Harper, is in the minor leagues right now. 7-2, Milwaukee. He is 20 out of Braulio Alonso High School, and as we told you, his story is an amazing one. Those are his numbers in high school, 30-3 with 314 strikeouts. You ask yourself, why is he 20 and in high school? He was in a Cuban jail for a year after trying to escape from Cuba to come to the U.S. to fulfill his dream and play baseball here. He was captured, and they kept him in jail for a whole year. After he got out, he was able to defect and get to Florida. So I'm sure in the next day or two, there are going to be some incredible stories written about that kid. Here is Tim Dillard. Omar Infante up first.
Well, we've seen the Sidewinder this the third time in this series, and he's come in and gotten some big outs. He came in and got Gabby Sanchez in the ninth inning with bases loaded. Got Gabby to hit that ground ball to third. So he's gotten some big outs. You can see how difficult he is to right-handers. Omar swung the bat well tonight.
Someone almost got him, and it's 2-1. Infante, Logan Morrison, Gabby Sanchez in the bottom of the eighth. in a ball game that was punctuated by Prince Fielder and a 3-run homer. Fielder's also knocked in a run with a single. Has 7 RBIs in this 4-game series, which the Brewers are on the verge of sweeping. That does not happen very often. A 4-game series sweep.
And it doesn't get any easier. The Braves in town. They'll be in town for 3. Some good pitching matchups. The Marlins will see Tommy Hanson, Derek Lowe, Jair Jurgens.
Boy, Infante, vintage 2010. It's another hard shot. Had a base hit into left field. He's 3 for 3 in this ball game.
Well, the numbers 2 and 3 hitters have been hot. Omar with 3 hits. Logan Morrison with a 3-hit game. And then after the Braves, it's the hot Diamondbacks coming to town for a 4-game series. Omar Infante now 8 for his last 16.
Morrison was 0 for his last 14 before this ball game started. Drove in a run with a single in the first, drove in a run with a double in the third, and then just had a everyday, average, ordinary single to open up the 6th.
Well, he's taken his average from 290 to back over 300, 305.
Morrison fouls it back, and Dillard is in front 0-2. Reds are jumping all over the Cubs 8-2. That's in the 8th inning at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati, where Drew Stubbs and Johnny Gomes have hit the ball out. No homers in Philly. Surprise. 2-0. Philly's on top. And that's in the bottom of the 8th over the Dodgers.
Yeah, Cliff Lee has 10 strikeouts in his 7 shutout innings. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I talked about the struggles of the Marlins and even how the Phillies offensively have not scored a lot, and they've had their share of injuries as well. But my point was, yeah, but they can send a number 1 out there 4 nights out of 5 in Lee, Oswalt, Hamels, or Halladay. And right now the Marlins don't have a number 1.
Tomorrow night they will run out, fresh out of Double-A, a 21-year-old by the name of Brad Hand, who has been here taking it all in.
Come on, Marlins!
Ooh. Dale Scott's going to ring up Logan Morrison on that pitch.
Tough pitch for a lefty. You kind of give up on it. It's that breaking ball that Dillard was able to find the outside corner. Let's see if he did. Might have been low, though. It was. Well, Lomo had a case.
The Braves series got the Miami Herald 2 for Tuesday. Then on Wednesday at 7:10, Thursday at 7:10 as well. Bouncer in the hole at short. Betancourt Weeks bobbled, reloads, and then fires over to first. And Gabby gets there.
Gabby's going to be glad when the Brewers and Tim Dillard get out of town. It's the 3rd time Dillard's gotten him in this series.
Greg Dobbs coming up. So the Braves are here tomorrow night. It's Tuesday through Thursday. 1-877 Marlins, the number to call, or go to marlins.com. There you go. In the Miami Herald, a 2 for Tuesday coupon awaits. Greg Dobbs is 0 for 3. He's bounced out twice and struck out. If this score holds, the Marlins are going to fall to 31-27. This 4-game losing streak is their longest of the season.
They'll also fall into a virtual tie for 2nd place with the Braves. And go another game behind the Phillies if their score holds up.
Mike Stanton on deck. 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. Dobbs in left center field. Morgan will cut it off. Dobbs will settle for a single. Gabby arrives at third. And so we get to see Stanton hit against Tim Dillard.
Mike faced Dillard in the first game of this series, grounded out to second base. Had a much better at bat last time up against Greinke than his first 2 times. He was able to draw a walk after a couple of strikeouts off Greinke.
Greinke 7 innings of work and is in line to pick up his 5th win. It would be his 5th straight win. He won 4 decisions in a row coming in. At the knees. Greinke would strike out 6 tonight. He walked 1 and gave up 7 hits and the 2 runs. Javi Vasquez a short start, 4 innings, 6 runs on 8 hits.
You know, the Brewers very early in the year, second series of the year. All of a sudden that low pitch is becoming a consistent strike. Brewers had a 4-game series against the Braves, second series of the year, and they won 3 out of 4 from Atlanta. Marlins won 2 out of 3 in their early series against Atlanta.
Bouncer up the middle. Betancourt picks a hop and gets the out. Marlins leave a couple through 8. It's the Brewers 7 and the Marlins 2. In this series and tonight has been a SunTrust performance player. Tonight, all he's done, 3-run homer, and in the 7th, just an RBI single. Prince Fielder now with 14 homers, 49 driven in. 7-2, top of the 9th. Steve Cishek will stay in there and get the top of the order.
Well, the good part about that, and you mentioned it earlier, Rich, with the youngster Brad Hand making his major league debut tomorrow night, you want to have as many healthy as you can in the bullpen. And with Sanchez going 3, if Cishek finishes this off, the Marlins will have pretty good shape in their bullpen.
Weeks has scored a couple runs. He fits right along with this Milwaukee team. He's a great package of speed and power. If he continues to do what he's doing right now, he's going to end up hitting 30 homers, driving in 65, 70 runs, getting on base at a 350 clip, which means he's going to score a ton of runs with Ryan Braun and Prince Fielder.
With those two guys hitting behind him, he's going to score a ton of runs.
And Corey Hart as well. Hart getting the night off. Ozzie loads up, makes a nice play.
Made a good point, Rich, and I think it certainly needs to be discussed with the state of the Marlins roster, and especially with two key guys in Josh Johnson and Hanley Ramirez out. Ron Rennike's been able to, first game of this series, he gave Braun the night off because he still had Hart and Fielder in the lineup in Weeks. He gave Hart the night off tonight. So he's been able to space his guys out, give them nights off. McGee got a night off. And because of the way
Bettencourt the day off yesterday
got a night off. So he's been able to do that because of the makeup of his roster.
But the Marlins have been unable to do that because, number one, they're kind of struggling a bit right now, and it's hard to spot start a guy when you've dropped 2 or 3 in a row. But you're right about that. Ozzie Martinez, really good shortstop, and a guy that played well at the end of last year. Scott Cousins, like to see him out there. But at the same time, when you're trying to get guys going, I mean, you get a sense that Coughlin will have a good game, and you don't want to pull him out the next day because you figure, hey, he's just starting to get hot.
Hey, Lomo, good example of that. It was 0 for 14 coming into this game. It had 3 hits tonight.
So you see both sides of the argument, and it's not an easy dance when you're a manager. Sergio Mitre in the bullpen. And that's what a guy like Emilio Bonifacio is for. The problem is he's in the starting lineup every night.
Yeah, he's your everyday shortstop right now.
He's the guy that gives people nights off.
Yeah, in a perfect world, I remember talking to Edwin about this in spring training. In a perfect world, you plug in Bonifacio, get him in at third base one night. You can put him in center field, give Coughlin a rest. You maybe give Infante a rest at second base.
Nigel Morgan lines out, and here comes Ryan Braun.
But you know, I mean, we're not up here preaching sour grapes. It happens to every team.
Yes.
That is just the state of the Marlins right now.
Now, if Hanley comes back, if the Marlins in 2 months, if Matt Dominguez is at third base, suddenly you have Bonifacio, you have Dobbs back in the role that he was.
And even in that case, you could have Dobbs in against a tough right-hander.
You could platoon the two.
Yeah, that's right. Doesn't always work out the way you plan it and map it out in spring training.
No, there's 30 managers in baseball that know that.
That's right, and general managers.
One thing the Marlins, and here's another dynamic that works into that. The Marlins have the youngest outfield in baseball. And you got Stanton at 21, Morrison at 23, Coughlin at 26 or about to turn 26. think he's 2 weeks away from 26. That one dribbled down the third baseline. So it's not like those guys are late 20s, early 30s and need to be protected. They're young guys who can go out there every day. But sometimes it's a mental day you need.
Yeah, and the other disturbing thing for me that's starting to happen is the losses at home. A loss tonight, if this score holds up, the Marlins will be 14-16 at home. 17-11 on the road, 14-16 at home. But again, it's one of those things in baseball. You take it for what it's worth. Are they losing because they're home, or are they losing just because of the way they're playing? Would they be playing this way on the road too? It's all a timing thing. But you need to play better at home.
Dobbs. Just in time. That was close. Good hustle by Ryan Braun. 2 hits for Braun on the night. Marlins was close. Marlins down 5 going to the bottom of the ninth. Brought to you by Marooney. When you need a car, truck, or van, who are you going to call? 1-877-MAROONEY. And by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports. By FP&L. FP&L is constantly working to make its system stronger, smarter, cleaner, and even more efficient to offer reliable service today for years to come. Visit FP&L.com to learn more. That's kind of the story, the dark side of the moon. That's what the Marlins have been seeing the last 5 ball games. 4 one-run losses, and here tonight, trailing by a 5 spot in the bottom of the ninth, facing a former Marlin, Sergio Mitre. John Buck fouls it at the plate. Mitre with the good sinkers.
Good sinker, slider, a changeup. And right now in his 17 games, working in these kind of games, working middle of games, doing a good job for Ron Roenicke. Could probably say that comparison in their bullpen, the Sergio Mitre would be a Brian Sanchez, Burke Badenhop type. Guy that could give Roenicke more than 1 inning if needed.
If they needed a spot start, Sergio Mitre, who are you going to call? One and 2 on John Buck, who is singled. Marlins with 9 hits to go with the 2 runs. We talked last week. Actually, we would have been talking about it for 2 weeks, but it really got zeroed in on last week. The stretch that the Marlins were on with the 21 games in 20 days, with the quality of teams that the Marlins are running into. The first place Giants, the first place Diamondbacks. The Brewers had a very good homestand.
All the teams with winning records.
Fielder makes the catch.
The Braves, the Diamondbacks again. Then on to Philly.
And how about the Rays?
And then Tampa Bay.
And a stretch that certainly the toughest stretch in the Marlins schedule this year to this point. And in a perfect storm of sorts, the Marlins without Josh Johnson, without Hanley Ramirez, were playing okay without them. We're winning games. And then the 3 one-run losses after that final game in Arizona, so 4 consecutive one-run losses. And all of a sudden, you see some of the air come out of the fish.
Yeah, that's you have to try to get a little of that air back. And Edwin even said it before the game that during this stretch, without Hanley, without Josh Johnson, if you can kind of hang in there and play 500, then you take your chances when you get everybody healthy. But in order to play 500, you got to win some games. And right now, the Marlins are on the verge of another loss.
Wes Helms. 0-2 pitch misses up and in. And it's 1-2. Lucroy tried to frame that one for Dale Scott. Major League Baseball draft going on right now. Marlins with the 14th overall pick. Betancourt. It's dropped and Helms is safe. We'll see if it's an error on Betancourt. It was hard to tell if it was a short hop and he didn't hold it or if he dropped a low throw.
Yeah, if it's just a low throw and Fielder dropped it, then you get a chance to see. I think to me that's an error on Fielder. First of all, if it did short hop, he didn't get out to get it. If he reaches out a little bit more, he gets it before it short hops, and I don't even think it's short hop.
And that should be an E3.
Yeah.
I think if Unieski had a vote, he would probably.
He's probably not going to go over and argue with Prince Fielder, though.
Probably not. Ozzie Martinez hits a fly ball to center field.
Hey, Prince is driven in 4.
Nigel Morgan makes the catch. Toyota trend, everything trending upward for Fielder. The Fish have not lost 4 in a row at home to Milwaukee since that 1998 season. We talked about that. That's the first time the 2 teams have played in the regular season. And the Brewers came in here in early April of '98 and swept a 4-game series. Chris Coughlin into left field. Ryan Braun squeezes it, and the Milwaukee Brewers have come into South Florida. They had a day off at the beach and then 4 days of beating the Marlins. A 4-game sweep for the Brewers. Prince Fielder, nice series. 3 bombs, a bunch of RBIs, and a 5-run win for Milwaukee in this one. Marlins Live coming up as the Brewers in 4 sweep the Marlins.